Didn't think they had libraries in St Helens, but
We don't. We're all
hey,
fake.
we'll leave that. Let me just move a few things around. There is a reason I'm doing that. So what we're going to touch on tonight is cancel culture and whether it's right, whether it needs to stop, and give our kind of opinions on it and go from there with it, really. But what I want to touch first is just because we have a TikTok page that has done quite well. And recently we got a video banned, and I want to show the video on here for why. The video I replied to as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't anything bad.
It was terrible.
So let me show you the video. Where is my? But it wasn't. Have you seen? Did you watch the video that I'm referring to?
I don't think I did watch that one.
So this is Jeffrey Marsh. He's non-binary. I have nothing against that at all. You know, be what you want to be who you want to be, sleep with who you want to be, who you want to sleep with, do whatever you want. But don't be spouting off stuff like this. Biological sex is fake, and you'll be able to hear it, because I figured out how to do that, by the way. Obviously, I know the last time we used this software, I couldn't figure out how to use the for you to be able to hear it, so you should be able to hear it. So just listen to what he says, because he's a complete clown. Can't swear because we're on YouTube as well. So
you can as long as it's 7 seconds.
No, demonetizing stuff now.
We're not even monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's well, yeah. But anyway, listen to what he has to say.
Biological sex is fake. Yes, we all know that gender roles are fake, but do not say to a trans person, biologically male, born female, male-bodied. No. There is no biological criteria for gender that is both universal and a binary in human beings.
So, that's what he has to say. This is what a video of mine that got taken down, because I disagree with what he's saying. I think biologically sex is scientific fact. It's based on the chromosomes that we have within our cells. Every cell in your body has one of two chromosomes. You're either biologically male or female. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
I think they're talking out their ass, and they've taken a 4chan idea and rolled with it and just started using it to breach human rights.
Yeah, the problem I have is that he has quite a large following on TikTok, and there will be so many young children who are influenced by him or by them, because and he's going around spouting off this stuff as if it's scientific fact. And what I think he's getting, and what I alluded to in the video that got banned, is biological sex and gender are two different things, and gender today is seen as a social construct, in that gender is not looked upon to say gender is based on how you feel. So you might be a man that is a woman who feels like he's a woman who feels like they're a man. You might be a man or a woman who feel like you're neither.
Well, sometimes I feel like crap. It doesn't mean that I'm a big piece of shit.
But it does.
Oh yeah, it does actually.
It does. But you could be one of those things. But what has to happen is we have to at some point say, yes, gender is this, and you can feel like you're this, and you can feel like one of the 47 genders that there are. If you feel like a wispy, there are more than 47. There's just 47 I can remember. But you could feel like a wispy piece of smoke or whatever that one of his vapor, I think, is. But biologically, you're one of two things. You are either born a male or a female. There are people who are born hermaphroditic, and that's completely different. But on the whole, society is born as either male or female. And I think we've got to be very careful when teaching young children that actually, although you have a penis when you're born, you're a girl.
Well, I think teaching them practices to people, let them make up their own decisions when they're more conscious.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy on it. It's like you can't indoctrinate a kid. Like if I turned around to my son and said, "I don't want to call you a baby boy, even though you got a penis," it's like, well, no, he's a boy until he decides that he's not.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to bring that up though is because it kind of segues quite nicely into the JK Rowling topic.
I've not
JK
actually done
Rowling
the research on
has.
that yet.
Don't worry, because I've done quite a lot of research on it because I was going to do a couple of TikTok videos on it, and I never got around to doing them. But the reason it caught my attention is that there's a brand new Harry Potter game coming out that everybody is screaming, cancel it, don't buy it, boycott the game, blah, 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 we shouldn't be funding her, and all this. Focusing on the game for a second, and if I bring up Twitter, people like this, you can be the biggest Harry Potter fan that ever was and still understand that boycotting this game is the right thing to do. She's even already noticed she has even said she already noticed the hit the boycott is taking on it. It offends her. Please, friends, boycott it with me. She actually goes on in the comments to say anybody quoting saying, I don't know, I love Harry Potter will be blocked. So
Well, she
she
can
is
block me.
completely. What's that?
She can block me.
Yeah. Well, she's completely against anybody having an opinion that differs to her.
Well, that's
And
the
there
same
are
with every single left wing, though.
massively so, but there are a lot of people like this on Twitter over this
It's
situation.
like if you're not open to the narrow-minded aspects of the world, then you're a bigot.
Yeah, and that's why we're boomers.
Exactly. Millennial boomers.
The millennial boomers. But what I like is that she says in this tweet how she's already said she's noticed an impact. This is currently one of the top pre-ordered games on Steam, on Epic. It's one of the most anticipated and pre-ordered games on the market at the moment.
She's had absolutely no influence over the purchases of the games then?
None of them have, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, there are more. There were more. I just kind of followed her.
I really
original
hope
thing.
JK Rowling screenshots sort of like the charts of gaming sales and says, "Look at what's number one here. Thank you for the free promotion."
The thing is, part of my argument with this, and I did discuss it with a few people on Twitter, who said they were going to boycott the game. JK Rowling got an upfront fee for them to use the Harry Potter universe. She's not getting anything off the sales of the games. So by boycotting the game, all you do is
in the first place.
What's that?
Well, if they're boycotting the games and she's not receiving a penny for it, all they're doing is stifling the developers.
Exactly what I was going to say. All you're doing is affecting the studio, the developers. You're probably going to put developers out of work because if the game bombs, that studio is going to lose business. They're going to lose their jobs.
Well, it's not only that, but the long-term effect is as well that their credentials will be on what's known to be as, what would it be, transphobic, xenophobic, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
their
exactly.
Credentials will be on there.
I wanted to bring that up
after that.
I absolutely love this thumbnail from Yellow Flash Guy who did a YouTube video on it, and just the fact that all he put on it was woke losers fail again is beyond amazing. But on to kind of what JK Rowling said. So this all started back in 2020 when she tweeted an article on Twitter, obviously, and said the article alluded to people who menstruate. And she took issue with this by tweeting, people who menstruate, I'm sure there used to be a word for these people. Can somebody help me out? And wumben, wimpund, woman. And this got backlash. Like, you would have thought she would have said that anybody who is transsexual is mentally ill. You would have thought she would have gone down the Ben Shapiro route with it. She didn't. That's all she said. And the thing is, I kind of agree with what she's saying. Because if you start saying to somebody, you can't be called a woman based on the fact that you menstruate, then that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because a trans man, from male to female, can't menstruate. And if a woman goes if a trans woman goes woman to male, they can't menstruate because they have hormone treatment and they have the relative items that are needed to menstruate removed. So straight off the bat, you can't menstruate. So the only people who can menstruate are women.
No, that's all rubbish. Men can menstruate.
No, they can't.
Yes, they can. I give a snapshot banjo.
They can. That's not menstruating. That's
I
completely
don't know. I'd be
different.
pretty pissed off.
Well, yeah, it's emotional when it happens. I must
Exactly.
admit, it's but it's not menstruating. That's the big thing, isn't it? It's how can you say that? And what she went on to say was by refusing to refer to women, you are ignoring the fights and the tribulations and the issues and everything else that women have had to face for hundreds of years. You're ignoring what the suffragettes had to do to get the vote. You're ignoring all of this now because you refuse to refer to a biological woman as a woman. You just refer to them as someone who can menstruate.
Well, I mean, it stems back to the biological thing, doesn't it? Like, I want a man who's transitioned to a woman give birth.
No.
That's what I want to see.
I mean, well, apparently it happened, didn't it? Was it a woman who transitioned to a man?
Yeah, but she's already pregnant.
In America, got
No,
pregnant.
she was already pregnant when she transitioned.
That explains how she got pregnant. But yeah, I remember that happening, and all I remember thinking about when I read the article and saw the videos on YouTube and stuff was that poor person has just been given a penis. They're not going to have a penis for much longer because that baby's going to rip it to shreds. It's just going to be like 2 pieces of cheese string flapping
No,
about in the wind.
it's going to be a butt baby.
Ooh, that's painful. I mean, have you ever had one of those poos that are just that big? You need to hold the sink because you're straining, blood vessels.
I've had them ones that are like they were too painful to continue with.
How does that work? If it's
like
you just suck it back
like
in? Have you got like Hoover action back there?
I've got like them cranes in the arcades, and they come down and grab all the thing, but it just keeps letting go. And no, honestly, you had to like really clutch yourself.
That's
like there was after pain. It was that bad.
So,
obviously, sit there and like collect myself.
There are other things about JK Rowling that has seen her get cancelled, and one of the videos I saw on TikTok was how racist she is, and how racially motivated Harry Potter is.
Is that because there's only one black person in Harry Potter and he hardly has any lines?
No. Well, that was mentioned, but it wasn't the key thing. So the key thing with the racial overtones of Harry Potter is that the guys in the bank, what the fuck, goblins, not goblins.
Well, goblins.
The ones who run the bank.
I don't know. I've not watched Harry Potter in like 12 years.
I'm sure they're goblins, but anyway, they're not allowed. They're not allowed wands. They have to be constantly supervised, and they are obsessed with money. And it's now believed that they are motivated and based on the Jews, from the fact that it's a stereotypical view that Jewish people are highly motivated by money, and then they compared it to
by money. They're motivated by developing themselves. It's just when you develop yourself enough, you get a lot of money.
But that's the real life. But the stereotypical view is they are just driven by cash. And then the other side of that is that because they were watched all the time, because they weren't allowed the same thing as other wizards, they weren't allowed the wands and stuff, that it was compared to that they were under control by the Nazis. Yeah.
Who are the Nazis then?
The male wizards.
Right, so then who were the British? Were the Demonators the British?
I mean, did you remember that you've watched Harry Potter? Did at any point when you were watching it when you were a kid think this seems really racially motivated? Like I just don't agree with anything.
It got to a point where, like, when I first watched the Philosopher's Stone, I didn't like Hermione. I thought she was pretty, but I think she was a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, but she looks good now.
I don't know.
And like she looks good now. And watching her in This Is the End is one of my favorite comedy clips because it's so not in her wheelhouse to be in that kind of film.
It's like when she went with like the short blonde hair, that was like she didn't look too great there.
Are you actively searching for pictures of Emma Watson right now? Are you trying to find one?
No.
I can see your eyes going side to side on the screen, which is
no.
Really
I'm looking at you, then looking at me, then looking at you, then looking at me.
So but yeah, I mean, the thing I have with the whole JK Rowling thing, and kind of the whole um trans community and people on social media, is that ironically with this situation, it's not the trans community that get up in arms about it.
No, it's the people that don't
It's
want to offend. It's people who are offended on behalf of the people in the trans
yes,
community.
and they are more offensive than what anything that is said, in my opinion. If you're offended on behalf of somebody, you are more offensive than the person who you think is being offensive, because
Well, it's
what
like that
right do
whole
you
thing
have to tell
where
them?
it's like the white people determine what's racist and the black people have no say over it. It's like, well, no, you can't really say that you can speak on behalf of a race that you have no sort of connection with.
No, I completely agree, and it makes me it boils my piss a little bit when I get told that because I'm white, I
You should be sorry
can
for
never
a
have
slavery.
well that, but I can never have suffered racism because I'm white, or discrimination in any form because I'm white. It's like, right, but I'm white in the UK. I'm not white in America. So in the UK, completely different to an American
Well, to be fair,
situation.
white people did get oppressed as well in America. I mean, if you look at Memphis, if you was a white person walking in a black community, you'd either not come out at all or you'd come out black and blue.
That's Birmingham on a
Well,
Tuesday.
yeah, and a Friday, every day of the
Yeah.
week.
But
And Bolton.
it stands true, though, doesn't it? That the people who are getting offended on behalf of other people are bigger twats than the people who are actually trying to cause the offense. Because normally what happens is the people who are trying to cause offense aren't actually being all that offensive. I mean, we will come on to Andrew Tate in a minute, because he is directly offensive, which is slightly different.
I think it's controversial to the point where it becomes offensive. I think
Yeah.
that's his big issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll kind of go on to Andrew Tate now a little bit, because obviously he is arrested at the moment in Romania, which is quite funny to some. To some, it's devastating. But there are some of that. I was looking earlier on when I was doing a little bit of research, and there are some of his like key moments of what people found offensive, such as he was in the UK versions of Big Brother. Never knew this.
Yeah.
Never watched it. I think I watched the first season, and then I thought I don't really want to watch another one of 10 people sitting in a house.
It is a boring show. It's all the same
quite
shit as
stupid.
well. Like, there's a big
Yeah, I
feud
mean,
between
apparently,
two people, and one cries in the diary room.
well,
And
that's why I mean he
entirely
got
to Big
kicked
Brother.
out for apparently a video leaking of him beating a girlfriend up, and she's come out and denied and said it was consensual. She's come
Or
out
was
and
it just
denied
like,
that on several occasions.
was
But
it just like a kink that he had?
apparently it was a belt, and it was consensual, and that side of it. Obviously there are other things. There's things like his comments on sexual harassment, sexual assault. So these are obviously not my words or Hayden's words or any, so he was interviewed by the Metro, and he said sexual harassment is disgusting and inexcusable. However, a man looking at you or whistling at you or asking your name isn't harassment. I agree with the looking and asking your name side of it. I do not agree with the whistling side of it, because
No, the whistling is definitely a harassment.
yeah, that's catcalling. But I have seen podcasts where women have said that if a man dares go up to them and ask their name or ask for their number, they are harassing them. They're sexually harassing them, threatening them, and they feel that
It's like, how else are you going to make friends? Like, I would never speak to you if I didn't know your name.
exactly. I mean, we'll touch on it a little bit after we've covered Andrew Tate on kind of misogyny and what is viewed as misogyny today, because I think it's ridiculous. But your head keeps disappearing. It's so funny.
I know, I'm trying to find
to
the bottle
say,
because I cannot find it.
he went on to say in that interview that women have exchanged sex for opportunity for a very long time. Some did this, went abused, and if you put yourself in a position to be our word, you must bear some of the responsibility. Again, I mean, there's victim blaming in that, which you can't blame the victims of sexual assault and that kind of things. He's obviously under investigation for human trafficking. Apparently, there have been WhatsApps come out today that have shown that he refused to let the girls leave his compound in Romania unless they were escorted, which I don't know how true that is, but obviously there are WhatsApps been released today. What I kind of want to talk on with Andrew Tate is more the cancel culture behind him, and the fact that he was labelled as dangerous, he was labelled as offensive, he was labelled as a misogynist, a sexist.
I mean, I definitely agree with misogynist. I definitely agree with sexist. I'd probably say offensive because obviously he offended like 99% of people on the planet. But I wouldn't call him dangerous.
So my question is, because he gets cancelled by every platform available: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, fucking MySpace probably cancelled him, Bebo, all this shit cancelled him. MSN deleted his old Hotmail account. I think apparently though, genuinely, I remember I watched an interview when he was on Piers Morgan, and he said that some of his old email accounts after he got cancelled from certain platforms were then closed, and he'd had conversations that he'd saved with his dad who died in those emails, like on Gfile or OneDrive.
Yeah.
And because that's been cancelled and because they've now been deleted, he's lost all of those memories as a result of him getting cancelled, because the email provider got rid of everything to do with him on the back of everything else.
Probably should have backed up.
Right. So I kind of, sympathize in that situation. But with Andrew Tate, what I think is, and he will say something that is clickbait. So go back to the R word. If that happens to a woman and she's got to bear some of the responsibility for putting herself in that situation, that 10-second clip is what you will see on social media. He could go on to solve the he could go on to get the Hadron Collider working and solve time travel in the next sentence, and you'd never see it.
That's not the purpose of the Hadron Collider.
They're two different things, I was saying. Two different examples. He could do both in the next sentence, but you'd never see it. I've never stumped him or made him lost for words. I'm quite proud of myself here. But the
I'm
point
quite
is
confused as to what you're getting at.
Well, my point is that he gets cancelled because of the clickbait.
Yeah.
But actually, when you watch the longer interview, a little bit like Ben Shapiro or what's the fucking old guy, Jordan Peterson, they say stuff that is going to offend people. So Ben Shapiro will outwardly say that a little, something doesn't exist, or trans people are suffering from mental illness. Okay. That is your clickbait. What he will then go on to say is, and this is why. But the this is why with Peterson, with Tate, with Shapiro doesn't always get shared. And it is only that big clickbait offensive headline, the one that grabs your attention, gets shared on social media, which then gets you the reputation and builds your brand to the point where it explodes, and so it goes from there. Do we not think that we need to look behind, or I mean, we do. Do you not think the stupid people of Generation Z and people who have only a goldfish memory should be trying a little bit harder before saying, oh,
no, because there's a reason why they call it Generation Z.
Go on.
Because it's zero intellect, zero research, zero evidence, and zero tolerance.
It's stupid, isn't it? I mean,
that's why they don't actually walk out. They're more asleep. That's why they call it Generation ZZZ.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the interview. When I saw the clip of Andrew Tate saying, if a woman puts herself in a position to be sexually assaulted, she should bear some of the responsibility. And the clip I saw ended at that line, and you think, oh, wow, that's bad.
Yeah, but didn't he go on to say that if you surround yourself in a room full of pigs or something like that, then
so
you're knowingly going into a threatening environment?
Yeah, so what he said was, if you regularly walk home alone at night, why aren't you taking precautions? Why aren't you learning to drive? Why aren't you getting a taxi? Why aren't you taking self-defense lessons? Why aren't you carrying pepper spray, a sexual assault alarm, all these kind of things? And he went on to kind of explain that when he will always, if he, like I suppose with these girls on the WhatsApps, he will never let one of his lady friends go out alone. They'll always go out with either his protection or him, because he doesn't want them to be in that situation. But because the clickbait headline ended at, well, it's your fault, you should have done something about it, blah, 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 blah. Nobody sees that actually what he's saying is, it's bad, it really is.
Yeah, no, but it's like the whole philosophy behind, well, the people shouldn't think that way in the first place, which is kind of true. Well, it's very true. But you can't stop. If somebody's dead set on committing that crime, I mean, you're not going to stop them unless you've got the physical attributes to stop them.
Well, that's what you're saying, isn't it? That why aren't you looking to improve yourself to get those physical attributes? Why aren't you taking self-defense? Why aren't you taking a taxi?
I know, but then every woman will say, well, why should I take self-defense classes just because I'm in it as a pig?
I agree, but then why should children in America have to put Kevlar in the backpacks?
Oh,
they shouldn't, but they have to. There is an element of that, isn't it? You shouldn't have to do it, but they do. So realistically, shouldn't. Yes, it's like, I think I spoke to you about it. A woman said, I saw a woman on social media said that I don't care even if you have to cross the road to get where you're going. If I am there alone, you do not cross the road.
Yeah.
So in that situation, that girl could stand there for half an hour. My house might be behind where she stood, but in her eyes, if I cross the road, I'm threatening her. I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm not. She again could take the precaution of walking away, or not.
Or at least put your keys between your fingers just in case.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There are certain things on there. Obviously, a lot of what Tate says is completely backwards. But do we think in 2023 or 2022 when this happened, but 2023 now, that instead of cancelling people, what we should be looking to do is actually start to respect that there needs to be a conversation with everybody to find out, do you know what, I don't agree with you, but let's find out why I don't agree with you and go from there with it, rather than going, no, just get rid.
I think that would be a ridiculous thing to suggest. Like, okay. What's the point in asking for the reasons behind the thought when you can just say, you know what, fuck you, see you later?
Well, all right.
It'll become very. My place, haven't I? No, but it's like, I mean, I can see that, like, the women will say, well, no, I shouldn't need to take action to prevent, like, rape or assaults and stuff like that.
I mean, that's the extreme, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, well, it's very, very difficult to change an entire. Well, let's say there's 13 million rapists in the UK right now. It'd be very, very difficult to influence them not to rape somebody, but it'd be easier to improve the individual so they're not put in that position.
Yeah,
and I think that's what Andrew Tate was getting at.
That's it, and that's kind of what I was alluding to. Is that at what point do we need to say, actually, let's not cancel people? Yes, if you are because part of the reason he was cancelled is because he was influencing the younger generation of males to be tougher in his eyes. What a lot of women said was that he was influencing them to be toxic. My problem is that who defines what toxic masculinity is? What do you define toxic masculinity as?
Toxic masculinity, I don't have a fucking clue, to be fair, because there's so many different definitions, but it's using your biological attributes to oppress the opposite sex. And that's like the dictionary definition of toxic masculinity. Yeah. But they see toxic masculinity as, if you sit with your legs open, like you're on a bus or a train, that's toxic masculinity because, you've got your legs open. It's like, well, how? It's just more comfortable.
But it's seen as toxic masculinity now if you hold a door open for a woman.
But yeah, go back 20 years, it was like, oh, thank you very much, you're a gentleman.
Not even 20 years, 5 years ago, it was considered.
Well, in fact, you know what? A lot of the older generation, if you hold the door for them, they're the most thankful people in the world.
Oh, I fail to understand where we went from. Let's hold the door open. Let's
put our coats over the puddle.
Let's put the coats over the puddle. Let's give our seats up for the women when they come on the bus and the train. Well, we can't do that now because, yes, I might be doing it out of the goodness of my heart, and yes, I might be doing it just because, I'm a fucking nice bloke. But you're going to call me toxic, and you're going to cause an issue out of this, and you're probably going to spread it on social media, probably going to take my picture, which means you'll spread my picture on social media, which is then going to impact my life. Do you know what? You might be 7 months pregnant, but you can fucking stand.
Well, it's not even that though. There's more to it than that, because if you stay where you're sat, they'll call you a pig because you've not moved for them voluntarily. How dare you not act like a gentleman? But if you voluntarily stand up and say you can have this seat, it's like, why do you think I can't stand on my own 2 feet on this rocky ride?
Yeah. So, I mean, while you've been talking, I'll just quickly Google what toxic masculinity is. And there's a numerous different examples, but Wikipedia describes it, the trustful source of Wikipedia. Toxic masculinity is thus defined by an adherence to traditional male gender roles that consequently stigmatize and limit the emotions boys and men may comfortably express while elevating other emotions such as anger. So, at what point then? That's such as me telling, or you telling Alec, boys don't cry. Come on, boys are tough. Get on with it. That's considered toxic masculinity. I mean, that's how I was brought up. If I got kicked on the football field, my dad didn't come around and go, "Oh, you're right, you know." It's
yeah, no, but they're
kicking
doing
back.
that today though in professional football, aren't they? Like the only kick the ball wrong and the paramedics are coming on.
Yeah. Well, so if that's what toxic masculinity is, when did toxic masculinity start impacting women?
When the new wave of feminism came out, when toxic femininity came out. In fact,
So
Google, see if toxic femininity is an actual phrase.
So here's one for you.
That today.
A woman. Do you know what? Actually, give you an example. So Anthony Mackie, the actor, was in 8 Mile and the Avenger films and all that kind of stuff. He was on a talk show in America, and he was asked what he would say to a woman, and he said, "Make daddy a sandwich." And the audience was full of women, and they all started booing, and you know. So he said, "Hang on a minute, let me explain." So pull up in my car, and I don't open the door. What are you saying to me? Open the door. Okay. Go out for a meal. I don't have to pay. What are you saying to me? Pay for the meal. Yes. All right. So when I say make daddy a sandwich, you better make daddy a sandwich then, because you're wanting this, and I want this. So it's got to go in kind of both ways. So I've looked at the 4 traits of I know that's not 4 traits. So Wikipedia again. Here we go. Toxic femininity is a term used by men's right advocacy activists. It's already so much more toxic than the male one was. Just noticing it straight away. So toxic femininity is a term used by men's rights advocacy activists to construct a false equivalence between toxic masculinity, which is a manifestation of patriarchy that harms both men and causes men to be violent and aggressive against women and occasionally other men, and the patriarchal limitations on a woman's gender.
So if a woman calls me a pig because, I mean, this has actually happened once before, but a woman called me sexist because I refused to go out with her. Like, because I was sat with a couple of friends,
how
we're
can
having
you
drinks.
be such a toxic male? How dare you be such a piece of toxic masculinity?
Because refusing sexual advances, but it's classed as prejudice.
Well,
it is.
Yeah, it is. But
it actually is by definition, because
this website I found here just before you kind of explain that one is called geekfeminism.fandom.com. So if anybody wants to look at it, geekfeminism.fandom.com. And it says there is no female equivalent of the ways in which toxic masculinity enables abuse. The concept of toxic masculinity exists to highlight the organized political nature of domestic violence and other forms of violence against women. While abuse by women aimed at adult men exists, it's exceedingly rare, and when it isn't actually self-defense being mischaracterized as an abuse, it happens individualistically, not as part of the patriarchal pattern of political violence. Abuse by women aimed at children is much more common, but the roots of that abuse are also in patriarchy, not femininity. Child abuse is a way in which a woman can actively participate in supporting the patriarchal structure, and internalized sexism means that women, as well as men, will continue to abuse children as long as patriarchy can. Even just reading that, I felt my fucking brain cells dying, because
you didn't have any brain cells to begin with.
I grew some before I read it and they died. That's how fucking bad it was. I mean, statistically, women abusing men is up there with any other crime.
I wouldn't say so. It is actually. If you look at,
Statistically, it is.
it's not
It is
because
now.
no, because when I went to my meeting last week, they said it's very, very unusual for it to be the other way around.
So historically, it has been, but now more and more men are coming forward. The problem men had previously was,
They were too oppressed to come out because it was, well, there's a reason why she abused you.
there's a reason why she abused you, or
And plus, there's that toxic masculinity. Men don't cry.
yeah, exactly. You know, realistically, we wouldn't go forward with it. I've been abused in the past, and I never went forward with it. You've been fucking fucked over massively. You're not going forward with it,
Yeah,
so you don't. You're not a statistic.
No, but I am going forward with it.
No, I mean you're not going to the old bill.
Oh no, not going to the bill with it. No.
So that's how it becomes a statistic. Right. So let's have a look. So it's about 50% in comparison. So not massively less. The Office of National Statistics figures show every year that 1 in 3 victims of domestic abuse are male. So 1 in 3 is a man domestically abused, unless you talk to a feminist, and then it doesn't happen.
I know if that's what feminist, then you're just a pig.
Well, exactly. Of domestic abuse crimes reported by the police, 26% were committed against men. Only 4.4% of victims of domestic abuse being supported by local domestic services are men, because men can't get the support. There's nothing in place for men
There is,
to
because
get the
I'm
support.
undergoing it now.
You know what I mean? In terms of women, so women, you have your women's only shelters that you can go and get help.
Oh yeah, men don't get that.
Aid. Men don't get that. So men don't get women's aid if you have been domestically abused as a woman. I completely support that.
Well, could I transition to a female and then say, because I feel like a female, I want to live in this female-only shelter?
Probably. In today's world, they'd have to give it you. But that's what I mean. So those kind of supports where you've got women's only shelters where if you've been abused, you can go and stay because you'll be safe. You've got women's aid where if you have to go to court and fight it, you will get your court case funded so you can get a solicitor. Men don't get that.
Men do.
They didn't when I went to court.
They do now.
What are you getting?
I just have to pay a contribution.
Women don't have to pay anything.
No, they do. If they're earning, it's means tested now.
Okay. So it's changed since I went. Still bullshit. I still stand by it.
If you want benefits, you get it free of charge.
This is the
if you're
problem,
working,
by the way, when I go off on a
contribution.
tangent and I start talking about stuff that I haven't researched. Not that you've done any fucking research. That. But it's true. Going to come down to feminists, that they want their cake and they want to eat it too.
Well, if you've got the cake, why not eat it?
But you can't have both, can you? Because if you want the cake where you are treated like an equal, then you pay for dinner. You fucking open the car door for me and all that kind of shit. Women won't do that.
But it's like if you give them what they want, then you're being selfish. And if you don't give them what they want, then you're being a selfish pig.
Well, very true. Did you see the talking about selfish and sexist and all that kind of stuff? Have you seen the news coming out of the Brit Awards today?
No.
So
I've been in work all day.
Was it today that it came out? I saw yesterday. Sorry. So obviously the Brit Awards last year changed their overall category from male and female to just a neutral. Everybody's in the same category now, probably because there'd be that many categories for your non-binaries and everything else that the award show had gone for weeks.
I don't know, because it's like when it comes to like celebrities and stuff, there's not many that are openly trans or non-binary. There's not a great deal of celebrities, especially like your big superstar celebrities. There's
the younger ones,
either male or female.
Yeah, the younger ones there are. The new Doctor Who's non-binary. I'm sure he is, or he's gay.
Makes it perfect for the title, then, doesn't it? Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I don't know who I am.
Exactly. But I'm sure he's non-binary. Billie Eilish. Did she come out as non-binary? Sam Smith. Sam Smith's non-binary.
Who's Sam Smith? Was he that dancer?
He's a singer. Do you want me to find a picture of Sam Smith for you? I'm sorry if it's not a flattering one.
Was he the X Factor winner?
Possibly. you ready for this?
Go on.
Are you ready for
Is
this?
it JoJo? Yeah, that's not who I had in mind.
That's Sam Smith. So I've got a story about Sam Smith for you. At the start of lockdown, he said that he came out as non-binary and how he had multiple personalities. So he was now a they and them because he didn't identify as one person.
Wait a minute. Let's just go back. So, like before, when we talked about Ben Shapiro, and he said it's a mental disorder, Sam Smith has come out and he said he's non-binary because he's got multiple personalities. Now, isn't that a mental disorder?
Yeah. It really is. See if I can find the article for you. I mean, it's all on. Like, the problem is, I stick this into Google, I get mumsnet.com and all that stuff coming up. So essentially, what Sam Smith said was he came out as non-binary, and the reason for that is that when he feels like a woman, he has a different personality to when he feels like a man. So he has multiple personality disorder, essentially. So he came out at the start of lockdown and said this. And then, like 2 months into lockdown, he posted a video online crying at how he was so sad and he was so alone and he just didn't like living on his own. And I remember thinking, you've got multiple personality disorder. You're the definition of never being a fucking alone because there's so many of you.
Well, physically you can be alone, but mentally you're probably
mentally you could stand in the mirror and have a conversation like the Green Goblin in the original Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire when he's just talking to himself in the mansion. But yeah, the Brits came out and they've basically got their big award show coming up, and they scrapped the best male and female awards last year to go gender neutral. But the nominations for that category this year are all men. So now that it's all kicking off, that it's massively sexist and it's all this kind of stuff. And if you scroll down to the bottom, because you got people like Tim Burgess. I don't know who Tim Burgess is.
Neither do I.
Let's have a look who he is. He's a charlatan, solo artist, DJ, coffee drinker, and author. Oh, he's in the Charlatans. Okay, I know who the Charlatans are.
Well, can I not? Can I drink coffee? I'm going to put that as my Twitter bio.
What, a charlatan?
No, coffee drinker.
Coffee drinker. So it goes on to say Mark Savage, who admittedly in this article says that he is on the voting panel for the Brits, and he voted for Harry Styles, Charlie XCX, Stormzy, Florence the Machine, and H. And he doesn't hold a grudge against anybody who voted differently because this year was kind of quite good for music. But it goes on to say that this has only been done because it is sexist, and it actually says in the article, where is it? It's the stereotypes from A&Rs and record labels. It's more problematic for women to go on tour in those early years in their career. Women at some point tend to have responsibility for looking after family, and that totally scuppers touring and the ability to focus on music. There's sexism and discrimination. It's a massive problem. And I co-wrote a paper last year that showed 66% of those respondents had experienced sexism and harassment. Some of those experiences are really quite serious, and just one incident can put a woman off and make them opt out and say, no, the industry's not for me. Could it not just be that those 5 men who got more votes and released better albums in the opinion of people?
No.
Am I being too sensible?
You're just being nonsensical, actually. I mean, clearly, Ariana Grande is a much better singer than George Ezra.
So there were 1,200 voters in this, by the way.
They're all sexist
that
pigs.
Accumulated these top 5s.
They're all sexist. They're all disgraceful and should be banished to the gulag.
I can't believe it. Of everybody you use Ariana Grande. You could use Florence and the Machine. You could have used
I could have used Florence and the Machine, but
you could have, I do agree.
I know, but as you were scrolling, I saw Ariana Grande's face, so it just said Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande's not in this article.
I'm sure she was in one of the pictures.
No, that is not Ariana Grande. Do you mean the girl with dark hair?
Yeah.
In
no,
Not Many Clothes.
I read her.
That's that Charlie XCX.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Are you going to be googling her later? I'll send you a name on what
You're
Discord.
going to say number then, weren't you?
I was going to say number. do you know I'm more disappointed that I can't see who's in there is Lua Deepa. I think she's amazing. Not her music, just she is amazing as in a
yeah. No, but it's not going off like Because it's like saying, like, right, well, Manada's not released an album, but she was great back then. Why is she not in there? Because she's amazing.
I mean, the thing is, there are women that are nominated in other areas where men could be nominated and they're not. So it doesn't really stand.
Well, to be fair,
to
I
argument,
mean,
does
look
it?
at what happened a few years ago. Who won Woman of the Year? A man. So
Oh, is
it's
that
clearly sexist.
Caitlyn Jenner? Oh, who did I see get asked about that the other day? Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Should I see if I can find it? Ben Shapiro.
Well, that's how terrible feminism has got. That it took a man to win Woman of the Year.
Was it Caitlyn Jenner that told Ben Shapiro he'd be going home in an ambulance?
Yeah, and then Ben Shapiro said, "You don't go home in an ambulance. You go
I
to the
know.
hospital in an ambulance."
That was funny.
Well, it's not wrong though, is it? Like, it's not a
It's
taxi
not.
service.
It's just stupid. I mean, the thing is, Caitlyn Jenner's done like loads of good stuff. Don't get me wrong. Since she became a woman, how weird is that to say?
I don't know, because I think like the old Kardashian family, like Caitlyn or whatever he was called before Caitlyn, like the Kardashians' parents did a really good job in building the empire, and the Kardashian daughters have just paraded around with big tits and a big ass, and they've earned the
What's wrong
fortune
with
from that. Well, they've just been
What's wrong
dipping
with
their
that?
pockets into the parents' purses.
But
and
what's
then
wrong with
coming out,
parading around in just big tits and nice arse?
because
And
if I did that, I'd be classed as indecent.
you do that. Well, you've got
I
big tits and
do.
not a nice arse, but you do that. You got big tits and a big arse.
I do have a nice ass, Al. Thank you very much. What comments on my voluptuous blossom?
What?
I don't know. Just continue.
Sake. I work with idiots. But yeah, just to kind of finish the first episode, 'cause we're coming up to an hour. The patriarchy, does it exist?
It depends on which aspect you're looking at it.
From a feminist point of view and their point of views on the patriarchy, does it exist?
From a feminist point of view, yes.
From
But
the
again, it
extreme
depends on
feminism
what.
point of view.
Well,
From the extreme feminism point of view, that the patriarchy causes the pay gap, that causes domestic abuse, that
oh no, they
causes
say the
women to be.
tyranny causes the pay gap because the foundations of Western society was built on males.
So what if I told you the pay gap doesn't exist?
It doesn't.
Oh, good. You've seen the same Jordan Peterson argument as me then.
Well, it's not only that, but it's like every single woman I've worked with, they earn more money than me. When I worked at Co-op, I was on 18,000 a year. The female that was working alongside me, she was on 37.
Was she doing the same job?
Pretty much, I was running the fucking shop while she sat around and did nothing.
Because that's a big thing, isn't it? Just to kind of finish, is the gender pay gap, as we're talking about feminism, the patriarchy and misogyny and all that kind of stuff, it's something like it's about $8,000 difference over everybody. So that's the average. But obviously in that average, you've got your CEOs, you've got your directors, your bankers, your industries women don't want to go into. If feminists want to be taken seriously regarding this, what do you think they should be doing?
What, to prevent a pay gap, or
Yeah,
do the same amount of? So, well, first you need to look at what industry pays better. So,
okay.
so say if you're working like you're working in a company and you're say let's say hypothetically you're earning 27,000 a year. That's your base salary. And a woman was sat next to you and their base salary was exactly the same. But if you moved over to a different company that you probably had to do a couple more duties, but it's the same job role, the same job title, and they're paying you an extra $4,000 a year, is that an indication of a pay gap, or is that just because you've gone to a firm that's willing to pay you more for the hours that you work?
What's the second one?
No, it's a pay gap.
Is it? Do you think?
Yeah, because if you're earning, say you go up to $32,000 a year, they should earn $32,000 a year without moving. Well, that's the idea anyway.
That's the idea. Well, it's not that's not the pay gap though. So,
no. It's like if you were
I
the
listened
CEO
to
of
that like really intently. I was like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to get this wrong. I'm going to listen to it, and you just decided to be.
No, but it's like if the CEO of Co-op, he earns $750,000 a year because he took a $750,000 pay cut.
Yeah,
because that's what Richard Pennycook wanted. But if you like say Tesco's CEO, so if Richard Pennycook transferred from Co-op and moved on to Tesco, he's going to be earning over double his money. He's going to be earning like 1.7 to 2 million.
Of course, he is.
Every single year. So I think it's just a matter of transfer out, go to where the money is, follow it, and be aggressive in your approach at it, rather than just sitting around saying, "Well, I demand more."
The issue I have with the gender pay gap, and when it is always brought up as an issue, is that women don't look at jobs like bin men, your road workers, your lorry drivers.
They want positions of power.
Yeah, you don't look at the overall aspect. What they look at is we should have more women in the boardroom. Well, to get more women in the boardroom, you've got to have more women doing these jobs, because the people who are in the boardroom, who are 60, are deeply skilled. They know the company inside out, and they've done those jobs. So you can't just walk in and not know the company.
Well, it's like 90% of the board of directors of Co-op, they were all shop floor workers. They start at the bottom and work their way up the ladder.
Yeah. That's how it should be. It's the same in my company, in fairness. Like, my company that I work for, they've all been at the company for 10, 15 years, and have all done my job. Every single one of them.
Little don't have that though. Like, they just, have you got a degree? Yeah, right, come on board.
A lot of companies do that now.
Philosophy.
Even the military does that now. Though, if you've got a degree, you can go straight in as an officer.
Yeah.
You might not be a good officer, but you go in as one. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. It's stupid though, because somebody coming into my job, for example, with a degree, couldn't do the job as well as I do. Because they've got no, 99% of people who graduate university today don't have the personal skills. They don't have the personality or the drive to do.
It's because, like Piers Morgan said, everybody gets a participation trophy throughout school. You don't get rewarded for doing the good work. So when you meet the deadlines and you've got all this work expectations, you get depressed because you're like, well, school, the first 18 years of my life wasn't like this, so why is it like this now?
Yeah. The way I kind of look at life now, first 18 years of the demo. Like a computer game. The first 18 years of the demo, or the tutorial. Once you hit 18 and you go into the big wide world, at that point, that's when you've just started your RPG and you're out there with your fucking loincloth out on in fucking Skyrim, or you're in your Y-fronts coming out of Trevor's truck in Grand Theft Auto. He's just given you a good see into. And you've got no money, no home, no car. You stink of booze. And
you're
that's
just describing your life here, aren't you?
I've got a car. I've got a little bit of money.
And you think of a lot of
more money on Tuesday. I can't wait for that.
I don't.
I got my student loan through on Tuesday. Cannot wait.
As
I was saying about students. Yeah, as I was saying about students who just can't do my job. But yeah, I mean,
and now you're going to become one of them students that can't do your job.
Yeah. So, it's actually because of what's just happened, I can actually start doing my job properly again. Whoop whoop, get me.
I know, which is great news as well.
Yeah, but anyway, I think the gender pay gap's probably a good place to end the first podcast on. It's been an hour of just chatting absolute shit. We will be a bit more organised moving forward. But
yeah, this was just kind of lumped on us.
Yeah. It was kind of decided last night that we were going to launch it.
Should we discuss the gender pay gap even more on the next one?
I think so. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of avenues that you can discuss about the gender pay gap.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to get somebody on maybe as well. And
maybe pink tax, that made up old thing.
Tax? I don't pay tax.
No, pink tax.
Pink tax. Oh, I look forward to that.
Like the idea that women pay more for products because they're labelled pink, even though it's the opposite way around.
Before we go, I have got one. Have you seen, and if you haven't, I will try and find his video and send it to you. There is he's not a trans because he hasn't transitioned. It used to be called transsexual, didn't it? So I don't know what it's called now. But there's a bloke who dresses as a woman, teenage, early 20s.
Oh, that's called a transvestite.
Are we still calling them a transvestite, or is that not offensive now?
It's probably offensive. Anything's offensive. Asking for a woman's name is offensive.
It's a man in a dress. It's a man in a dress. We'll go with that. He went to the shop and bought tampons and was telling TikTok about how he was going to put them in.
In what?
Exactly. If I
Just
can
sticking them down
find
your
this
urethra.
video, I will send it to you, but and we'll show it on next week's podcast. So it will be about 9 o'clock on Sunday evening next week to chat about the gender pay gap, men in dresses putting tampons in, and some more general shit, really. But it's been quite fun for a first one. First one on here, anyway.